So today we're going to figure out how you would use percents in the real world. And this lesson is actually very useful because as an adult or even as a kid, you use this like all the time when you go shopping or if you go out to eat. So for example, if you go out to eat and you have like a certain bill and you want to leave a tip, like a 15% tip or a 20% tip or whatever, this is the math you would use to figure out what the tip would be. Also, if you go out shopping and you find something and it's 20% off of the price, this is the math you would do to figure out how much money you get to save and what the new price is. So this is a good lesson because it's used all the time in the real world. It's called finding the percent of a number. So to find the percent of a number, you write the percent as a fraction, which you've already learned how to do, and then multiply it by the number. Okay, so let me try this example for you. You guys can do this right on your notes with me. So it says find 16% of 40. So let's pretend in this case that we went out to eat, the bill was $40, and for whatever reason we want to leave a 16% tip. Okay, so this is how you would do that. So you take the percent, so the percent would be obviously the one with the percent sign, and you write it as a fraction. Hopefully you remember from the last couple of lessons, when you're writing a percent as a fraction, you write it over 100. Okay, of in math always means times. Okay, so times, and then 40 written as a fraction, so that's just a whole number, so you would write it as 40 over 1. Okay, so now we're going to do a quick review of multiplying fractions. You want to see if you can cross cancel, so I can divide 140 both by 20. So 40 divided by 20 is 2, and 100 divided by 20 is 5. Okay, now I'm going to multiply across, so 16 times 2 is 32. And 5 times 1 is 5, okay? So obviously this doesn't look like money. If you're just doing it as a math problem as we are here, then you can keep your answer like this and leave it as 32/5. If you wanted it to look like actual money, you would make it a mixed number. So 5 goes into 32 6 times, and you would have 2/5 left over. And then you want your change, so this would be the change. So change is out of 100 cents. So you would just quickly do 5 times 20 gives you 100. So you would multiply the top by 20, and that would give you 40. So it would be $6.40 because this means 6 and 40 out of 100 pennies. So $6.40. But you don't even have to do any of this if it's just like a regular math problem. You would do that if you were actually out trying to figure out what the tip would actually be. Okay, so you're allowed to leave it improper. That's totally fine. All right, so we're going to try another one. The bottom one here says find 40% of 120, and it's saying that you can use a table to solve it. So this one's a little bit different. So this is another trick that works. I like the multiplication method anyway, but I figured I would show this to you because you might like this better. So it says you can use a table. So a part to whole relationship, 40% is written as 40 out of 100. So the part is 40, the whole is 100, okay? So what you can do is simplify this. I can divide it by 20 again. So I'm going to get 2 here. 40 divided by 20 is 2. And then 100 divided by 20 is 5. And now I can figure out what times 5 would give me 120. So let me write that here. So that is going to be 24. Okay. So I would multiply the top by 24. And that would give me 48. So for this example, if I'm trying to figure out 40% of 120 is what number, that would be 48. So my answer would be 48 out of 120. So 48 is your final answer. The confusing part with some of these is that they're telling you to find the percent of the number, but your answer is not a percent. It's either a whole number, a fraction, or a decimal, but it's not actually a percent. Okay? So that's another way to do it. You can use a chart, put it in simplest form, and then figure out what times the denominator gives you the number they're looking for and multiply the numerator. That's another way. I think this sometimes can be a little bit trickier, so I just like the multiplying method, but that's just me. Okay, here's the next part. This is the last part. It says find the missing number in a percent problem. So this is a little bit different. So instead of saying find 30% of 150, it's saying 30% of what number is 150. So it's basically asking us, if you're thinking of this in real world terms, it's asking us what was the original price. So it's saying 30% of what number is 150. That means you're saving $150 off of something. So they want to know what was the original price. So you divide the number by the given percent. The number is 150. I'm going to write it as 150 over 1, and I'm going to divide this by the percent written as a fraction. So 30 over 100. So if you remember, this is going back a couple chapters. With division of fractions, you need to rewrite it as keep, change, flip. So I'm going to do keep, change division to a times, flip over the percent. Okay, now I'm going to cross cancel and I'm going to multiply. I can divide these both by 30. 30 divided by 30 is 1. 150 divided by 30 is 5. Multiply across. 5 times 100 is 500. And 1 times 1 is 1. So 500 over 1 is just 500. So that means whatever they're talking about here was originally $500, but it was 30% off. So you got to save $150 off of that price. But they were asking what is the original price. Okay, so we're going to try some practice ones now from the book.